What's going on, everyone? It's Jay Boo. Thank you guys for stopping by once again. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day out there. Today we will be talking about how to take care of the Bougainvillea. So if you guys are having any trouble or need some tips, then this video is perfect for you. So, Bougainvilleas. These plants are originally from South America, but you can most likely find them at your local hardware store or nursery for relatively inexpensive. They are evergreens and they are part of the 4 o'clock family, or however you say this. And being a part of the 4 o'clock family basically just means that they are able to throw out some very nice looking flowers. They are very vibrant and beautiful, and after seeing them a few times, you'd probably be able to recognize this plant from like a mile away. These plants can be grown as vines, bushes, or trees, all depending on your preference, and they make excellent bonsai and are pretty commonly used plants when it comes to that. They don't require very much maintenance and they aren't very laborious, and so I feel like they make a very good beginner plant. So that was just a little bit of exposition. Let's get into the care. So starting with watering. Your watering schedule is going to be dependent on a few factors, including weather, temperature, season, climate. All of these things are going to dictate when and how you should water. So at the moment, it is currently summer, and where I live, it is very hot, and so I'm currently having to water my plants, my bougainvilleas, about every 2 to 4 days, depending on how fast it dries out, or just whenever I see that the leaves and branches are starting to wilt or droop, because that is a very clear indication that the plant needs water. And once you water it when it's drooping, it should come back in like a few hours and it'll look just fine. So I would suggest letting your plant dry out a fairly good amount before you water it again. And when you do water it, give it a very deep and nice watering. Don't water this plant too frequently. When you do that, it's just gonna put on a bunch of green growth and it's not really gonna bloom. So if you want your plant to flower, make sure you let it dry out in between waterings. Obviously, during the colder months, you're gonna wanna let your plant dry out probably completely, just so that you mitigate the risk of developing root rot. Obviously, if you develop root rot, then it's gonna die. So make sure to water less during the colder months just to prevent that. I'd probably water my plant like maybe once a week or maybe once every week and a half, but really you don't wanna go overboard with it. And of course, underwatering is always going to be overwatering, because you can't really reverse root rot, but you can reverse dryness, so as long as it's in a timely manner. But moving on, we are next moving on to placement of these plants. So these plants really enjoy the sunlight, and they need about 6 hours of sunlight per day in order to perform their best. These plants typically have some trouble trying to flower if they are in shade, so make sure that they get that essential sunlight that they need. Of course, if it's too hot, then move them into shade or part shade, whatever is available, until it cools down a little bit. So I'm definitely gonna have to bring my bougainvilleas inside during the colder months. It gets way too cold for these plants to tolerate during that time, and so if I were to leave them outside, I'd probably have to like wrap them up in a blanket or something, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna bring them inside. So also be aware of your climate, temperature, season when you're figuring out where to put your bougainvillea, because those all affect it as well. We are next going to move into potting and soil. Bougainvilleas like a fast draining and relatively loose soil. They also prefer a slightly acidic soil, and on the pH scale, I believe it's around a 5 to a 6. However, if it's really dry and hot where you live, kind of like me, then I would maybe incorporate something to retain moisture like peat moss, just so that you're not having to water your plants every single day, because if I were to just put it in a super fast draining soil like I do with most of my other plants, then I'd probably have to water this plant like every single day. But in general, just make sure that your plant is able to drain well and aerate well, and you shouldn't really have any problems. If you plan on repotting your plant, then it is recommended to do it in either spring or summer, just so that it has enough time to be well established before winter. If you're planning on transplanting or repotting your plant, you have to be extremely careful when teasing. Well, you really shouldn't even tease the roots that much, to be honest. But my point is, these plants have extremely brittle and delicate roots, and they are easy to break, and so if you're transplanting your plant, make sure to be extremely careful with that. So now that we're done with soil and potting, let's go ahead and move straight into pruning. So you may want to prune your plant if it becomes a little leggy or a little too long, if you want to promote new growth, or if you want to shape your plant into a bonsai. But regardless, these plants respond very well to pruning and they make excellent bonsai, like I said earlier in the video. So of course, if you're interested in that, this is a great choice. During the summer, it's mainly suggested to just do some light pruning. Save all of the hard pruning for late winter or early spring. If you prune during late summer, then you could run the risk of having not as much blooming, and obviously, why would you want that? You want these plants to be as beautiful as they possibly can and grow as many flowers as they possibly can, so just stick to pruning in the hard pruning at least. Stick to hard pruning in early spring or late winter. So really quick, talking about propagation, I haven't tried to propagate this plant just yet. I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually, but I have seen other people propagate them through branch cuttings, and it seems pretty simple and pretty similar to what propagation of other plants is. You basically just cut a branch off, dip it in some rooting hormone, cut off most if not all of the leaves so that it pushes all of its energy towards producing the roots, and you just kind of wait. So I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually, but as of right now, not yet. But yeah, it's definitely possible to propagate, and so that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much going to conclude our video, everyone. These plants are truly wonderful to work with, and they are very beautiful, especially when flowering. They're pretty easy to take care of, and they could be an awesome beginner plant, so it's something to consider. I hope I inspired you to get a plant, to get into plants, anything like that. I hope I inspired you in some way. I hope this video helped you guys. Let me know if it did. Let me know if I missed anything. You guys should know the deal by now. Thank you guys all so very much for your support. I love every single one of you guys. You guys are truly the best out there. No one does it better than you guys, but seriously, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys once again. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this video helped you in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.